depth. Depth in acting. And what does that mean? You know, most people kind of have an idea of depth of, oh, it's heavy, it's deep, it's poetic, it's this or that. That's not what I mean. Comedy can have depth. A great comedian has depth. What does depth mean? Depth is that there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of complications. There's a lot of different impulses, feelings, sensations, thoughts, emotions, physical condition. All of these things are all happening. It's not a cliched reality. It's a true reality, or as true as we can get it. By the way, there's an interesting little scene during this part of the movie when they're planning how to react to Sollozzo, where Michael's with the guys, the Corleone guys, and the phone rings, and it's Kay, his girlfriend up in Maine. And because he sent her away, remember, and he hasn't really talked to her much since then. And they talk a little bit, just how are you, etc. And then she says, I love you, Michael. And he says something like, yeah, me too. He just won't say I love you.
Yeah, I know.
Tell me you love me.
Yeah, I can't talk.
Can you say it?
Yeah, I'll see you tonight.
Hey, Mikey, why don't you tell that nice girl you love her? I love you with all of my heart. If I don't see you again soon, I'm gonna die. Hey, come over here, kid. Learn something. You never know, you might have to cook for 20 guys someday. You see, you start out with a little bit of oil. And you...
It's what's interesting about it, even though it's not that important, but what's interesting is with the character, with Michael's character, he still has a little bit of that goofy young guy thing going. Just a little bit. That he's a little embarrassed to say this in front of the other guys. And that's the way life is, right? He's becoming more of a formed man, if you want to put it that way. More sure of himself, more confident, more taking action, and calm and deliberate. But he has this one moment where he reverts to his younger, less sure of himself in kind of a funny way. And that's actually quite a nice grace note in the movie because that is actually how life is. We rarely change ourselves in life so completely and so completely in such a short period of time without some of how we used to be still remaining. Some of how we used to be will actually remain with us through our whole lives in many cases. So that's actually quite well observed on the parts of the filmmakers and Pacino. But to get to the more important event is when Pacino goes with Sollozzo and the police captain, McCluskey, I think, to an Italian cafe in the Bronx, where the gun has been planted behind the toilet by the Corleone guys. And it's really quite an amazing scene for many reasons. Cinematically and dramatically, it's terrific. But it's also in the sense of Michael's character that the plan has been laid out. Clemenza and the others were endlessly coaching him and Sonny about what to do, how to do this. They gave him exact instructions to the point where he's saying, yeah, I know, I've been over it 500 times.
All right, Mike, you go to a restaurant, you eat, you talk for a while, you relax. You make them relax. Then you get up and you go take a leak. Or better still, you ask for permission to go. And when you come back, you come out blasting. And don't take any chances. 2 shots in the head apiece.
Listen, I want somebody good, and I mean very good, to plant that gun. I don't want my brother coming out of that toilet with just his dick in his hands, all right?
The gun will be there.
All right, listen. You drive him and you pick him up after the job.
Come on, let's move.
Did he, tell you to drop the gun right away?
Yeah, a million times.
And you walk fast, but you do not run, but you walk fast out of the restaurant where the pickup car is gonna come and get you. And you don't look at anybody, but you don't not look at anybody. You act normal, but you walk fast. And that's it, right? Precise instructions. So all of it kind of goes that way for a while. And Michael is talking in Italian with Sollozzo while the police captain is stuffing his face with food. And Michael's being pretty convincing. He says he gets very serious with Sollozzo.
Yeah. Come si dice? What I want, what's most important to me, is that I have a guarantee. No more attempts on my father's life.
And as though, really, my only concern in this, I don't care about the family business, I care about my father, is the message he's giving. And it's very, very intense. It seems very believable to Sollozzo and the captain. And Sollozzo's lying and weaving and saying, yeah, but this, but they have to accept this deal, etc., etc. So at a certain point, after all that's been accomplished, Michael says, I got to take a leak. And they say, the captain says, yeah, well, if you got to go, you got to go. But he frisks him first. Sollozzo says, you already frisked him in the car. Yeah, but, these young punks. So he goes to the bathroom. It takes him a while to find the gun, but he finds the gun. He's nervous, of course, but he's going to be determined. He's going to walk out of that bathroom and blast away. But that's not quite how it happens. As he's going out of the bathroom, he hears the subway. And the subway rattling of the restaurant, if you're a New Yorker, you know what this is like, right? It's pretty loud. It's pretty, it can even shake the building area sometimes. He comes out and the subway sound recedes. He puts the gun in his pocket. And then he enters the restaurant itself, stops for a second, looks at the guys, does not take the gun out and kill them. He goes to the table and sits down. Now, what just happened? He didn't do what they told him to do. Why? Well, possibilities. One, he was too nervous in that moment to do it. He just couldn't bring himself to do it. So he's going to give himself a little time, try to calm down, and then do it. Second, just logistics. He wasn't close enough, perhaps. And how does he hide the gun? Is he got his hand on it in his pocket? That looks pretty weird if he's going to walk all the way to the table and then shoot them point blank, which is the better way to shoot them if you want to accomplish. Handguns actually, unless you're an absolute sharpshooter, are not necessarily so easy to handle at a distance of 20 yards or whatever. You could easily miss, and then Sollozzo and the captain are both professional gun people. They could shoot you back. So in a logistics sense, perhaps, he's thinking, I have to get to the table first before I shoot them. Table is not exactly so close to where the bathroom is. So I'm going to take my hand out of my pocket and just walk to the table, sit down, and wait for the opportunity. Now, we don't know that. It may be he's just nervous. It's possible. Both things are possible. Or he could use the noise of the subway to cover up the sound of the shots to some extent. But you don't see him, there's no indication that that's what he's thinking. None at all. It's almost like the background sound of the subway was just something like background music in a film used to heighten tension. That's what it feels like. If you're watching the first time, you're not going to even notice any of this because you're so engrossed in what's going on. But watch it a few times and start to notice the elements of the scene, and you start to go, wait, is he noticing the subway? It's certainly making him more intense, more nervous, more something, more anxious. But is he directly noticing it, where he's conscious of it? We don't really know. So all of these factors are there, but we don't know how they're playing on him. He goes, he sits, Sollozzo's talking again in Italian, and the close-up goes to Michael, and you can tell he's not listening to a word Sollozzo's saying. He's doesn't know quite, is he going to shoot him? When is he going to shoot him? What's the right moment? Should he not shoot him? All of this high anxiety is going on. And then the noise of the subway comes back, and this time really loud, and builds and builds and builds. And the pressure in Michael's head is building, building, building. You can see it in Pacino's face. And suddenly he gets up and he does it. He shoots Sollozzo in the head. He shoots the captain, the police captain, and does kind of what they told him to do, but he takes a couple steps first before he drops the gun, and he doesn't drop it. He doesn't lower his arm very much before he drops it. So it's like if you were a customer in the restaurant or a waiter, you would see him do it. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. It was almost following the direction, but not quite. But he does walk out fast, but it's not, there's nothing casual about it. It's not running, but at the same time, it's not as though, I'm just walking out of the restaurant. But he gets out, and the car picks him up, and he's whooshed away, and that's it. So a very interesting acting thing comes into play here. Very interesting. And it's about depth. Depth in acting. And what does that mean? Most people kind of have an idea of depth of, it's heavy, it's deep, it's poetic, it's this or that. That's not what I mean. Comedy can have depth. A great comedian has depth. What does depth mean? Depth is that there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of complications. There's a lot of different impulses, feelings, sensations, thoughts, emotions, physical condition. All of these things are all happening. It's not a cliched reality. It's a true reality, or as true as we can get it. So when I said, does he strategize when he first hears the subway, when he's still sort of in the bathroom? Does he think, you know what? Instead of shooting him right away, I'm going to wait for the next subway? Does he think that? We don't know. You can't tell. But let's say it could be that it's a subliminal thought. He's not quite aware of it, but he's aware of something. The sound has recorded itself in him somewhere. He's too nervous to do anything about it at that point, maybe. But it's there. It's part of the fabric of his reality. Is he too far from the table to take out the gun immediately? These guys are pro-gunmen. They could react in time and shoot him back. Probably that's a little stronger. That because just spatially in space, it's like, okay, I was an army captain. I know how to shoot, but Jesus, these guys do too. Maybe this isn't a good idea. I need to be right up next to him, but I don't want them to see my hand in the pocket. Okay, I take it out of the pocket, start walking. Maybe just when I get to the table, I put it back in and quickly draw the gun and do it. But something holds him up. What, is he too nervous? Too anxious? He has to breathe. he doesn't know what to do. And in that moment where he realizes, I have to do something, he sits. Or is he waiting for the subway sound? Is that a literal thought? Or is it just underneath, but it is controlling him to some extent, even though he does not realize it? That's depth. Because then he sits, he listens to Sollozzo talk, but he doesn't really listen because it's going through him. When do I shoot? Do I shoot? And then the subway comes. And it builds his tension at first, but then it's almost crystallized that he uses the sound of the subway. And then he gets up very strongly, very clearly, very decisively, and shoots these guys. He carries out the action very well. Everything leading up to it was confusion, but all of these elements were working in him. And he himself may not have known why any one element was dominant at any one moment of his walk, of his sitting, of the whole thing. All of this is great acting because you don't know. Because in life we don't always know. And yet, that doesn't see a lot of actors when they start getting spontaneous. They have the ability to be spontaneous. They've taken some improv classes or something. And they think, I just be spontaneous. I just be there and it'll happen. To some extent true, but that doesn't mean you have depth. Having depth means you have worked on every element that could be there, whether it surfaces or not. It's in you. It's in there. All of the elements. And not just the story elements, but the emotional elements, but the sensory elements. The other people in the restaurant, where are they? Are they looking? Do these guys, how fast are they? Do they have food in their mouth and a fork, or could they get their gun fast? All of these things, step by step, by moment, by moment, by moment, you have 5 or 7 things going on in you. And you don't even always conscious of what they are, but they are affecting you. And one of them may say, wait, don't do it yet. Who? What? Who said that in your mind? Or your body? Or your emotion? You don't know, but you do it. And then you find out why. You were waiting for the subway, perhaps. Right? Watch that scene 5 times in a row. You're like, this is miraculous. The acting in this is miraculous. It's fantastic. And that's great acting. There's no lines that he says. All physical. But it is such a window into the soul and such an important moment and a huge turning point in the movie. Because now he is in the family business. He is a criminal. He is fully in it. Right? And events have led him there. Events, his own character, and everything else you can think of. So it's also in the theme of the film, which is that he got pulled into this, but then he becomes that monster, though he was kind of a wonderful guy before all that. So all of that is in there. This is great acting.
Michele, Corleone. Non so i mascoli.
Sono morti tutti per vendetta. Ecco, i nomi dei morti.